Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Robert Barr, and I'm pleased that you're joining me and one another for this streaming Shabbat service. This is a chance for us to pause, to catch our breath, to think about where we've been, and to think about where we're going. So let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength. Again, I'm Rabbi Robert Barr of Congregation Bethel. That's our bricks and mortar congregation here in Loveland, Ohio, which is part of Greater Cincinnati and our Jewish community, our online initiative that we began over 14 years ago. When we went online, people didn't appreciate the opportunities that online presented. We sort of teased it out. We began to recognize that being online afforded us a unique opportunity to connect with people around the world, members who had moved to other cities, kids who had grown up here but went off to college and stayed where they were, people who somehow bumped into the congregation and were intrigued and excited by what we were doing here. During the pandemic, of course, it became even more important. And today we continue using technology to connect with people around the world. But technology isn't our mission. It's a tool. Our mission is to give voice to a bold, dynamic Judaism, a Judaism that is reflective of who we are and what we believe. We don't need to continue to mimic our ancestors, to merely parrot what they wrote and what they said. They created a Judaism reflective of who they were and the time in which they lived. It is incumbent upon us to do very much the same thing, to create a Judaism reflective of who we are and what we believe. We have information and knowledge they didn't have access to, but we do. We understand the universe in which we live differently than they do. We need to bring that into our services. And that's why you find our liturgy, our services, different than most congregations you have encountered anywhere else. It is about a bold, dynamic Judaism. We are less worried about what our ancestors think of us and more concerned about what our descendants will think about us. We want to give them the best that we can, offering them a Judaism that's strong and visionary and looks to the future and creates a bold, strong, dynamic voice. And you're part of that. So I'm so pleased you're here sharing the service with me and with each other. Now, it's recorded. It's a streaming service, right? So you can watch this anytime you want. You don't have to simply watch it at 7 o'clock when we stream the service, because once it's posted, you can watch it anytime. That's the advantage of having a streaming service. It also means you can chat with one another during our services. So I know people on bethadam.org are doing that. Please let us know where you're participating from, those folks who are watching and participating on one of our 2 Facebook pages. It also means I can record a conversation and then bring it into the service at a later date. And that's what's going to happen tonight, but I'll explain that in a few moments. So we're going to continue the service with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Night seeps up from the ground. Light falls to the stars, distant and icy, ancient beyond all who came before. But the light of the Sabbath is warm. The light of the Sabbath is ours. The light of the Sabbath is of this place, of this time, of lives that know the past only in a dream. As we kindle these lights, we create our place of warmth. As we kindle these lights, we welcome this time for reflection. As we kindle these lights, we stake our claim. And while these lights burn, the time is ours. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. So I am very pleased to share with you a conversation that I had with Rabbi Lewis. And there's in conversation and announcement, and I hope you watch it and learn and get excited, because I am very excited about what is going to be happening. Shabbat Shalom. I am so excited that Rabbi Judy Lewis is here, and I know Rabbi Lewis is excited to be here. And we have a special announcement. Rabbi Lewis is going to be joining our staff this coming congregational year. It is really, we are so thrilled and so excited that you have been willing to come out of retirement, because you have been at other congregations before. Where have you worked before Congregation Beth Adam? Could you just give us a little bit of history?
Sure. Can I go backwards?
Sure, you can go.
Okay. This is the third time I'm coming out of retirement.
I just thought it was for us.
Well, it's for special cases. My last congregation was in the Bronx in New York City, and I retired from there because of family issues. My father needed help. So my husband and I retired, moved up to Rochester, New York, and sadly, my husband died before my father did. My father made it to 99 3/4 in excellent health. Anyway, and I had retired from Temple Israel of the city of New York 10 years before that, because I wanted to go into teaching in public school. I wanted to teach high school English.
Really?
Yeah, and I did that. It was Teach for New York, or New York Teaches or something. There was a program. I applied for it. I was accepted. I was going to be assigned a school when a friend of ours took us out to dinner in Riverdale in the Bronx and mentioned to me about this congregation that had gone through a very difficult split. Half of the rabbi they had hired took half of the congregation away and created a new one. And I thought, and the friend said, why don't you apply? And I wasn't really looking for a job, but I felt like this was a congregation that needed my help. And I'd already been a rabbi for 30 years, and I didn't think there was anything that would really faze me. So I applied. They asked me to become the rabbi, and I had 9 wonderful years there. Loved it. Still go back to them. They're still my congregation, my family. But so that was why I didn't go into teaching. I had started out as the education director at Temple Israel of the city of New York back in 1989, I think, or maybe 87. And I had both of my children while I was the education director there.
Okay.
And that was a very part-time job. I was commuting in from the suburbs from Long Island, but I loved the congregation. And when the senior rabbi there decided it was time to retire, the congregation held a search. I shouldn't say this, for 3 years.
Really?
So yes.
Wow.
And finally, I was speaking to one of the board members, and I said, if he really wants to retire, I'd be more than happy to just kind of fill in while you continue the search. And they called me into an interview, and they said, well, if you want to work here, you have to take the whole job. And he retired, and I became the senior rabbi there, and I was there for 21 years.
Wow. And you when you left there, you hoped you were going to go to teach.
I was going to go teach,
but you didn't get the teaching.
I got teaching, but then a congregation in need asked for my help.
Wow. And you, as the kind of rabbi you are, she's that kind of rabbi. She just said, I can't. So they had 2 retirements. Where's the third one?
After my first couple of, junior positions,
right,
I took time off to have kids, and then I was asked to run the school. So and some of you may have known Rabbi Lewis is. We've done Zoom. We've done this before. We streamed. I've mentioned that Rabbi Lewis is helping me edit the book that I'm writing about the congregation. She's very involved in that. And when our staffing situation changed here, we were talking about it, and I sort of jokingly said, would you be willing to do this? Well, you weren't.
I wasn't.
Pressure on me.
Did it put a lot of pressure on you? No. Rochester.
You have a very persuasive rabbi.
And we convinced you, or you decided to be willing to move. You have a place you live in Manhattan, to move to Cincinnati, which is the center of the sort of the Jewish universe.
So it's supposed to be.
It was supposed to be, and don't tell her. Ocean isn't really near here. So, but really seriously, why were you willing to come out of retirement? You're a big scuba diver. You do reef work down in Bonaire, and when I asked you, and I was being serious because Rabbi Lewis is really incredibly talented and really knowledgeable, and has been helping me with the book. And I said, it'd be great. But why were you willing to do it?
Because this is the one congregation I feel like I can belong to. My philosophy, I won't say theology, my philosophy has really evolved since I retired. And there were a lot of factors. The politics in the country. I started reading a lot more about biology and other scientific stuff. Working underwater was a huge part of it. And then, of course, my life situation changed a lot. And I really miss having a community. As I said, I love my congregation in Riverdale, and emotionally and for celebrating it, they're my family. But in terms of something that is consistent with the way I now see the world, it's been I don't know of any other place that makes me feel quite as comfortable about beliefs, about how we understand the world around us, existence, reality. And I think that if things go right here, or I should say left, but and if I can be a part of it, this form of Judaism or Jewishness could save American Jews. I mean, it could save our presence in the modern world. And I think we're desperately in need of saving. And so if I can be some small part of that, it's worth coming out of retirement for a year.
Well, I appreciate it, because I appreciate your willingness to do it. And I'm excited about you bringing your philosophy. You bring obviously a tremendous amount of experience of having been steeped in the rabbinate for 30 plus years, congregational rabbinate, more than that, almost 40 years. Yeah. And also having looked at Jewish philosophy through different lenses, and you bring that to the congregation. And that's part of what we want to do, is we want to reinvigorate our religious school and bring content that we've lost a little bit over the years. We want to bring that back, as well as you have a real commitment to Jewish culture. Can you talk a little bit about Jewish culture? And then I want to talk a little bit about nature. But start with Jewish culture.
Okay. Yeah, I really see Jewishness is participating in Jewish culture. And of course, there's not one Jewish culture. There are many Jewish cultures, but there are certain things that all of them share. Language, music, calendar, things like that.
Food. We were talking about
food. Yes, absolutely.
I think we were talking about food.
That's
right. You told me.
And I really think to live fully as a Jew is not about laws and requirements. It's about celebrating, and you use the word embracing, Jewish culture. And you can't embrace Jewish culture unless you're exposed to it in a manner that makes it attractive and gives you a sense of fulfillment and belonging and community. And that's what I want to share with people. That's what got me into the rabbinate in the very first place. I was raised in a home. My grandfather just loved Jewishness, and he was, outwardly you would call him an Orthodox Jew, but his great joy was in involving and engaging the family, in our case, in the celebration of Jewish traditions. I never, ever felt like anything was a requirement or an obligation. It was an opportunity to celebrate, or on sad occasions, an opportunity to find comfort from each other. And I became a rabbi because I wanted to share that with other people. I wanted to enable people to love Jewishness the way I was taught to.
And it wasn't the theology or the ritual.
Not at all. Not at all. It was the celebration and the sharing and the community.
So when you were a rabbi, how did you deal with the theological philosophy?
I was always theologically a Reconstructionist.
Can you explain what that is?
Okay.
Just because if the people don't.
Mordecai Kaplan was a huge influence on my life. He basically did not believe in a supernatural God. He believed that God, he talked about God as the force for harmony in nature or unity, things like that. And so reconstruction meant reconstruct the traditional words that we recite in your head as you're saying them to be consistent with your worldview. And so that was always the way. Now, I grew up in a congregation that was very rationalistic.
Mhm.
So we were taught Maimonidean theology from the very beginning. So I never thought of God as a commander. For us, God was reason. If you use your rational abilities, you're being religious.
Mhm. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was raised in an extraordinary congregation.
Mhm.
So my theology was always Reconstructionist, and I believed in that force for harmony and that enables harmony in nature and all that.
Right. And then, so you want to bring that and the idea of, culture and all those things that drew you into the rabbinate here, because that's also how we teach, the kids. We want them to understand sort of their place in the Jewish world, what it means to be part of a tapestry of Judaism and where they fit.
But I want them to learn to feel that if they miss celebrating a holiday, it's not that they failed in some way, it's that they missed this wonderful opportunity to enjoy something. If I can be part of sort of instilling that in them, that, it's just a chance to celebrate.
And then the other thing we talked about, so there's that. I don't want to press a little bit on time. I want to make sure we get, and the issue of nature. You're really committed to do a lot of work in reef reclamation,
right?
And bringing sort of nature. We all talk about this. In fact, one of our principles or one of our social justice initiatives is about climate change and getting the kids to understand that. But you think there's more in Judaism that we could harvest if we sort of began to think that way?
Yes. I have to say, one of my conversion moments was we had the TV playing in the background. I was cleaning or something, and it was that Blue Planet or one of those documentaries. And I heard the voiceover. I don't know if it was Attenborough or somebody else, but in this resonant voice, the ocean, the source of all life. And I thought, oh my God, I was never comfortable using the word God in English. And so I always translated God as the source of life. And I thought, oh, that's why I love the ocean so much.
That's right.
And it's sort of the two things came together. And I do believe the ocean is the source of all life. And for me, it is sacred. I don't worship it as an idol or anything, but I respect and enjoy and feel responsible for it. And I would extend that to all nature because it all comes from the ocean.
Right.
And so I forgot what we were talking about when I said, and we should
bringing nature. And
but
harvesting
specific.
Well, how to harvest it out of Jewish.
No, but earlier today we were meeting and talking about a certain phenomenon that I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I think for every phenomenon in nature, we can find vestiges of pre-biblical thought about it.
Well, we can talk about it. So yeah. So just say because what we're talking about, it took me a second to remember, is there's going to be another full solar eclipse in April. And we were talking about, we had done last year in the summer, a program, Come for Dinner, Stay for the Stars, where we did a program outside where you had to be present. Unfortunately, it's one of those things we can't stream. We showed our windows. I had a PowerPoint with our windows, and then that morphed into issues or photographs of the Webb telescope. And we talked about the astronomy and how we live in this 14.5 billion year old universe that's massive, that continues to expand. And it was our scientific perspective. When we began to realize that there's going to be a solar eclipse in this coming year, you got excited and say, wow, this is a great opportunity to teach to the kids that our ancestors would have seen solar eclipses, and they probably referenced them somewhere.
Right. And I don't know the references offhand because I haven't studied that yet. But I'm excited because it's an opportunity to research something that fascinates me, and then hopefully to be able to transmit that excitement to the students.
And to get them to see how our ancestors experienced things, put it in a framework that they understood, and it probably morphed a bit as astronomy morphed, right? It wasn't until really Spinoza and Galileo, there were lenses that they could even see out and see beyond anything they could see with the naked eye. So they began to understand things they didn't understand. And now how we understand what a solar eclipse means and how we interpret it and how science. And so this gives the kids a of evolution of Jewish thinking.
Yeah, I should mention also, if we have time,
Sure.
I've been very influenced by Native American and indigenous ancient wisdom in other places. One of the things that I love about some Native American religion or philosophy is that they refer to people as all living things, including plants. We're human people, but everything, all things that live are people. And things like asking permission and giving thanks when you use nature, when you harvest something, when you, I think that that's very consistent with the whole Jewish thing about oneness, that we are all connected. Humans may be a specific kind of people, but that we really have to live in concert with all living things.
And it goes back to also one of the other things we want to explore. We were talking about this today, as well as we're thinking about teaching kids Bible stories, is how that early, certainly the Genesis story, sort of was designed, unfortunately, in opposition to that thinking. It was, the idea of each category was created separate and distinct, with human beings being the last category and having dominion over it, and then beginning to teach the kids that was a moment in literally in Jewish history when a particular philosophy was dominant, was pushing out the earlier sort of more naturalistic probably viewpoint that existed.
Yes, and one of the things that I'd like to explore further at another time is that some, like Jared Diamond, the Guns, Germs, and Steel, he talks about how that turn happened when we changed from being hunter-gatherers to agrarian. And I've been studying a lot about that. And yes, I feel in a way quite guilty that the patriarchal monotheism that, that preceded us and that we resulted from has done so much damage to the world. And I feel like maybe we can turn that, maybe we can make a little effort to turn that around.
Well, that's the exciting part. That's what as you can see, this is why it's so exciting to have Rabbi Lewis here. Hopefully, right? And not hopefully, you will do a few adult stuff as well. You'll be participating in the high holidays. So you got to join us for the high holidays. You got your sermons ready? You're going to do 4, I decided. I thought that way people...
I quit. I'm going back to retirement.
Go back to retirement. Oh, every rabbi has a couple sermons they always want to give. One more, just one more. But it's seriously, it's so exciting to be able to have somebody with the kind of breadth of knowledge you have and the commitment to education, to how we're going to take this, bring it into the educational forum. We're doing some things we've been doing exciting, but tweaking it. We talk about our village. It's our village 2.0. It's the next iteration of our village, to take the best of what we've been doing and then incorporating this kind of knowledge base, so the kids get a sense of evolution, and to also see the tension that has existed at other times in Judaism. So often we think that we're the first generation that was dealing with tension. The shift from nomadic to agrarian, that's a big change. And they were fighting, and we forget that they were experiencing. We tend to read, unfortunately, the Bible. We forget that there was people lived thousands, tens of thousands of years before the stories that we ever knew came into existence.
Yeah, and the excitement is in training kids, young people especially, to be able to read the story that the story is responding to be able to find what the author of the biblical stories was reacting to, and in many cases trying to destroy and argue against.
Right, because we forget that. I think too many people think that the Bible is the beginning of the story. They don't see it as in dialogue with earlier stories.
Right.
So this is what's going on. So I'm so excited that Rabbi Lewis is here. It's exciting to have her wisdom here and her insights, and we're all going to get the benefit of that. That's what's going to be so exciting over the year to come. So I'm glad you're here.
I feel like I'm getting the benefit from it, really.
That's good. Well, thanks. This is great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
And I am so excited to have Rabbi Lewis as part of our rabbinic staff this coming year. She is going to bring her insights, her wisdom, her knowledge, and her vast experience to Congregation Beth Adam. Primarily, she's going to be working on our religious school, reshaping the curriculum, building upon what has been built and improving upon it, bringing insights from what we learned in the last several years with the insights we had over the 30-year history or 40-year history, I should say, of our congregation, and bringing together new ideas as we reshape and remold our village to our village 2.0. I am delighted she's going to be a part of this congregation and working with me. You'll have a chance to hear her during the high holidays. She's going to be joining me on the Bima, offering sermons and her Torah commentaries, and she and I will be doing streaming services together as well. She is a great addition to our community. I look forward to having her as part of it. I hope you do it as well. So we're going to continue our service with the sharing of the wine. We lift the cup together as a tribute to our past, as a blessing for our future. May the lure of its untold flavors beckon us forever to keep uncovering new branches, new roots that hold us together. Tonight, as we welcome the Sabbath, may we find time to spend in our own quiet company and listen to the calling of our hearts. Ruchim ha'chayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Ruchim ha'chayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within us. And we say, l'chaim, to life. As our service draws to a close, I like to remind everyone to go to bethadam.org. That is the best place to find out what is happening in our congregation. Bethadam.org. You can learn about our streaming services and our Zoom services, our hybrid services that have people here in our library, as well as people online. You need a link for that. So take a look, see what's upcoming. You can always listen to my podcast. And remember, you can also go back in time. If there was a Shabbat service you particularly liked or one that you missed, you can go look on our service page, both the current page and then in our archives, and watch a Shabbat service from prior weeks. So I'm delighted you're here. I'm delighted we were able to share this Sabbath together. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings through the day, and may we know blessings through the night. May health be for our children and for all people. All things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings, and may we know blessings when we depart. May we live each day with peace and wisdom in each heart. Shabbat Shalom.